Maybe we now realize the way racial bias can infect us even when we don't realize it, so that we're guarding against not just racial slurs, but we're also guarding against the subtle impulse to call Johnny back for a job interview but not Jamal.
You're now tuned in to Brutally Uncut with me, your host, Tameeka Henry. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is the very first episode of Brutally Uncut. And today I wanted to talk about job market name discrimination. And we do have some guests on the line, one in particular, Sha'Condria, iCon, Sibley. She is the viral poet. You've probably heard her poem is called To All the Little Black Girls with Big Names. If you haven't heard it right now, it has over 115,000 views on YouTube. It's a very powerful poem. I'll tell you a little bit about why I started the show, and then we'll jump right into the conversation. Basically, I started this show as a vehicle for people to have their voice, a space where we can express our thoughts and express our similarities as well as differences in one area, in one forum, without feeling that we needed to be restrained or feeling that we couldn't say certain things. This is a show where there's no holds barred. I encourage you to be blatant. I encourage you to be honest. People are looking for honesty, especially in this day and age where we are fed with so much just fake stuff, for lack of a better term. So I'm going to jump right into it. And the reason why I came up with this topic is because this is something that affected me personally. Recently at my job hunt, I was actually on a job hunt because I was unsatisfied with my position. I wanted to move up in my career. And I had someone review my resume. And one of their suggestions to me was, have you ever considered changing or altering your name? And I've heard about situations like this, and some of you are probably familiar with also situations like this, where a recent conversation regarding a Hispanic gentleman by the name of Jose Zamoris, where he changed his name from Jose to Joe. And before he switched his name, he was sending out 50 to 100 resumes a day and never receiving callbacks. But once he made this simple alteration, he started getting phone calls like crazy, just with job offers and everything else. And to me, sometimes you don't realize the depth of a situation until it becomes your situation. And I read the story thinking, I understand some people might want to change their name because they might be in a hardship and they just need a job at the moment. But for me personally, I just couldn't do it. And for that person to even recommend that I do something like that was just frankly disrespectful to me. I feel like my name is my culture, my name is my family, my name is my home. I can't see myself being named anything else, even if it's an alteration. I feel like when you were given your name by your parents, they thought about that name and why they should give you that name. And for you to just say, let me change my name in order to make someone else feel comfortable, that just doesn't sit well with me. Because if I have to change my name in order to make you feel comfortable for you to hire me, then that means that that's probably not a place that I need to be employed. Because if my name tells you that I am a black female and you already have preconceived notions of who I am or what I might be about, that means that, number one, you're a racist. Number two, you're not comfortable with a diverse workforce. And if that's the case, then you need to set programs in place where you can become comfortable with those situations. But until you do so, I don't think that's a place for me to be employed. And as I mentioned before, we do have some special guests on the line. Sha'Condria, please introduce yourself and just tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your poem.
My name is Sha'Condria, iCon, Sibley. Thank you again for having me. I am a nationally traveled poet who did put out a poem several years ago called To All the Little Black Girls with Big Names. The reason for putting that poem out was because, just as you said, it was one of those topics that is kind of hot button right now. The poem was actually written in 2007, and it just went viral recently, so that just tells you how significant this topic still is today, which is sad, and 20 still talking about people discriminating on things as petty as a name. but it was a topic that nobody was really touching. You know, we talk about colorism, we talk about racism, we talk about all these sexism, all these other isms, but nobody ever talks about name discrimination, which is very alive and real. One of the lines in the poem, you know, I say your name can tell someone your race or even your social status. People look at your name as an indication of your educational status, your economic status, and it's sad to say because I'm an alum of Xavier University in New Orleans, Louisiana in New Orleans, and it's the number one school for putting out African-American doctors and African-Americans in the medical and biology science field. And it's crazy because I had a lot of friends who I went to school with and who I graduated with who are doctors who had names like Lakeisha and Tameeka and, you know, Rashida, you know, all kinds of different names. So it's really superficial, in my opinion, to judge someone based on a name, because just because your name is Becky or John or Tom doesn't mean you're safe, because as we see in the media, we've seen a lot of terrorists and a lot of other, you know, people right here on native soil who had those names. You know, so your name is definitely not an indication of safety, nor is it an indication of your value. But me as a little black girl growing up in the South especially, that just wasn't something that was very noticeable, but people just never talked about it, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely well said. And I just wanted – go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, and I was going to say, and then after the video came out, it really showed, too, how people think, because if you go look at the comments on the video, man, people show they ass for real, you know. It's like they say that they show really what they're thinking, because there's people that are like, I bet you she has, you know, 5 kids and she lives in the ghetto. Like, no, I have 2 degrees from 2 of the best universities in the country, and I'm a world-renowned poet. I've been on national TV. You can't judge me off of the fact that my mom took a little more time to think about my name than yours did. Sorry.
Exactly. I mean, well said, well said. And one of the things that comes to mind immediately when someone talks about changing names is, I don't want to get too deep, but if anyone has seen the movie Roots,
right.
If you remember the scene where the slave Kunta Kinte is being whipped, and you hear the master whipping him repeatedly, asking him, what's his name, and he keeps giving the master his origin name, and the master is whipping him, forcing him to say the name that he deemed as acceptable for him, which was Toby. And just painting that visual for someone, and then thinking to yourself, the nerve of someone to ask someone to change their name, or for you to tell me that, whether it be being black, Hispanic, or even Asian, because I know a lot of Asians and Orientals go through the same situation where they feel like they need to change their name in order to make other people feel comfortable. I just feel like conforming to an idea, or, as you say, whitewashing your resume in order for other people to feel comfortable, is just perpetuating the idea of racism and people not accepting diversity in the world, not even the workplace, but in the world.
Yeah.
And
I agree. I had that debate before where I thought to myself, should I change my name on my resume? Just my 2 initials, you know, my first and middle initial and my last name. It's like, nah, because just as you said before, if you can't accept Sha'Condria Sibley in your work environment, then that's indicative of the work environment that I'm going to be in. If you initially say, I'm looking at this name on this resume and I don't care to have this person here, then that's just an indication of all the problems I'm going to have in the future when I work there. So I don't want to work for a company that would discriminate like that, because when I get there, racism is probably going to be, you know, one of the least of my worries when I get there. I'm probably going to have to deal with all kinds of other stuff when I walk in the doors as well. So I'd rather not.
Exactly. And I just wanted to get from you, what made you write this poem? Because I did see that in the notes that it was a dedication. Forgive me for mispronouncing her name. If you could just say her name, the little girl from the movie Annie. Yeah, it was a dedication to her.
Right. Now, I wrote the poem way before Convention probably even came out. I don't even know if Convention was, she was born, I think, when I wrote it, because like I said, I wrote it in 2007, but I didn't put it out there until 2012. But when I saw this little girl come up, she's from Louisiana. A lot of people don't even know that Convention is from,
I didn't know that.
Not too far from New Orleans, as a matter of fact. She's from LaPlace, I think, the LaPlace area, which is about 20 minutes or so outside of New Orleans. So when I saw this little girl come out and she was setting this standard, like this is me with my natural hair, you know. She wasn't conforming in that aspect. And then when the Oscars, they kept calling her Little Q. Like nobody wanted to say her name. They were afraid to put their tongue on this girl's name. And there's another poet, I got to remember her name, but she has this poem where she quotes, you know, give your daughters names that make people, you know, make you have to twist your tongue to say it. Like, you're going to respect my name when you say it. It's not going to be a name that just falls out of your mouth. You're going to have to think about it when you say it. So my name has a purpose. So I think about that, and I thought about Janae, like, we're both from Louisiana. She's a little girl out here setting a precedent and trying to be a trailblazer. And I just wanted to have something to let her know, you know, hey, sis, it's okay. Me too, you know, we are in this boat together. And that you can be successful and have a name like that and make people call you by your name. Because she and her people were very adamant about her name is not Q, her name is Cuban Janae. You know, you're going to call me something.
And I think that's important. That's important. That's something that you need to do, because if you want people to respect what it is that you're putting forth, or whether it be your name or whether it be a title, if you want people to respect something, you have to. And I think that's a very important thing to do. I'm glad that people did that. Easily as cute, make other people feel comfortable. And I don't think that's acceptable. That's not acceptable, and it's not okay. Just because you don't understand it and just because you won't get it right now, say it enough times, you're going to get it. That's how I feel. Say it enough times. It'll resonate. At least try.
My goal in life is to make people uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, we spend so much time trying to make other people comfortable. I'm like, is this everything from my hair to my laptop has a sticker on the back that says unapologetically black, which is a movement that's kind of going on in New Orleans. Like, and I sit in an all-white coffee shop most of the time doing my work, and when they see that sticker, I want them to know, you know, I'm not apologizing for who I am. I'm not apologizing for my big, curly, nappy, knotty hair. I'm not apologizing for the melanin in my skin. I'm definitely not apologizing for my mom naming me something that she thought was beautiful. My mom is more important to me than these people out here. So if she thought it was beautiful enough to name me, then that's who I owe my respect to, you know?
Yeah, well said. And I know this is a very passionate topic for you, and I saw that you started a movement. It actually turned into a project. Can you tell us a little bit more about the project?
Yeah, the Little Girls Big Names Project. I started it off last year, and I kind of put a halt on it because so many other things are going on. But this year, it is starting again full force. By the end of the summer, I'm going to relaunch the project. But what it's going to be is a visual and audio project that is going to incorporate women and young girls from all across the world. I want every demographic, even every ethnicity, you know, not even just little black girls, but any woman of color who has a unique name, whether that be Indian or whatever. And I want them to submit pictures, and I'll give you the information on submission guidelines, but submit a picture.
Yeah, definitely. I'll add that to the blog so people can be able to tune into that. I really
appreciate that. I want it to be really, really huge, me and my team, but I want them to show their name, a pronunciation of their name, and then what they do or what they identify with. For me, as an example, I'm Sha'Condria, and it's pronounced Sha'Condria, the phonetic spelling, and I'm 34, and I'm an artist or a poet. If you're a student, a teacher, a doctor, or whatever, and we just want to show the scope of, you know, the range of women who have big names. You're everybody from your roundaway girl that's standing on the bus stop sucking on a lollipop to a surgeon, you know, in an operating room. And from here, you know, in America all the way to maybe Gambia or somewhere in West Africa or wherever, you know, we run the gamut from, you know, the bottom of the totem pole to the top. I don't even want to say the bottom of the totem pole to the top, but just your name is not indicative, and it's to show that your name is not indicative of who and what you can become, to show the diversity of the name. But that project is going to relaunch. We have T-shirts. I'm going to have stickers, bumper stickers. I want it to become like the hashtag Little Girls Big Names. You know, I really would like to see it be something that becomes viral, because this are accepting people for. Because first of all, you don't have, just like your race, you don't have any control over what your name is. I mean, you can change it, like you said, but for the most part, it's what you're born with. In African culture, they take great pride in naming children, and I know we have some names that people deem are a little, you know, just out the box. But at the end of the day, I'm not responsible for what my name is. So
exactly, and imagine what Imagine what that does to young people mentally. Is you're saying that, okay, your mom named you Hakeem, or your mom named you, I don't want to, like a cat, or you have a Jewish last name, or when I see your name, I know that you're Muslim, or when I see your name, I know that you're Asian. For you to say to me that I need your name to be a little bit more simple so that I feel more comfortable. What are you saying to these children mentally? You're saying that you're not good enough. And I don't think that's the idea or the message that we need to keep perpetuating to people. It's not that I'm not good enough. It's that you don't understand. And just because you don't understand doesn't make it not right. And with that being said, I'm just going to play a little excerpt from Sha'Condria's poem, just so you can feel the power that I felt when I first heard this poem on Facebook. And I saw how important it was to get this message out to the people. Like, if you don't already know about this poem, please tune into it. Like I said already, it already has 115,000 views on YouTube. Let's get it up to 1 million. Let me just play the excerpt for you now. Hold on.
We live in a nation where your name can tell someone your race or even your social status, because they think only dumb ghetto folk overuse the alphabet. They chalk it up to illiteracy, never creativity, or maybe even history, and I wonder, those who assume would ever stop to think that maybe transatlantic submerged native tongues have reemerged in the form of ghetto monikers, like my little cousin, whose name is Tanisha, sounds a lot like Tinashe, a name from the Shona tribe, meaning God is with us, or my friend Lakisha, whose name sounds a lot like the Bantu name Wakisa, or maybe like me. My mother knew that I would be a fighter, so she named me Sha'Condria, which sounds a lot like Shaka, the great Zulu warrior. See, this here poem is for every daughter who ever became a professional only to shorten her name to a letter and a period just so phone calls could be returned or higher pay earned, because we all know don't nobody want an Isha or an equal to operate on them. But you see, a book can't be judged by its cover nor its title, and the story beneath your name can't be contained beneath the tide. So sisters, let them rise and take their rightful places on your applications and business cards, desk placards and uniforms, until one day ghetto-ass names become the norm. But for right now, we're special, you see. And there ain't another girl in the world with a name like you or me. So go forth and rep proudly for all the ghetto-named girls. And if someone happens to mispronounce your name, make sure you give the neck a swirl. Look them dead in the eye and correct them. It's pronounced Sha'Condria. Say it right or don't say it wrong.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You know how many times in my life my name is spelled so easily? Tameeka, Tameeka. Do you know how many times people have looked me in my face and called me Tamara?
Wow.
Do you know how many times people have looked me in my face and called me Tamara or called me Tameeka? Do you know how many times? Because when you Yeah, it's like when you see that name, you already have a preconceived notion. That tells me one thing. That means that you already had a preconceived notion of me, or you just can't read. That's what that says to me. It's either one or the other. Because when you saw that name, you automatically thought black, ghetto. So you automatically said, it got to be Tameeka, Shaniqua, Tamara, one of them. It got to be one of the black names. Or you just can't read because it's easily spelled.
Cassandra, Shaquanda, Shaquita. Everything.
Yeah, and at this moment, I want to get someone who actually works in HR, who has experience selecting resumes and judging people based on their experience, and just hear from them a little bit about, what are some of the things that their company is doing to uphold the equal employment policies that they have set in place.
Hi, Tameeka. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
I've been in HR for 3 years now, and I have worked for a couple of big financial firms. And to be quite honest with you, I haven't really experienced, any discrimination regarding someone's name. To be quite honest with you, I work or have interviewed or have hired people with very black names. And my company, that I work for, they're all about diversity. They honestly, they don't care about the person's name. They care about if the person can get the job done. at the end of the day.
And that's what it should be about, yeah.
Exactly. So I haven't really experienced that. But, for me, personally, when I was growing up, I had an issue with my name because I thought my name was very black, and I was told that I have a very ghetto name. But life is just so funny because now my name is such a conversation starter. I have met so many people. I had conversations with so many people from different backgrounds, that is, because of my name. For example, I have gotten into a cab with this guy who was a driver. He was Indian, and he was surprised that a black girl like me had that name. He said, "This is an Indian Muslim name. Where did you get this name from?" And I'm like, I don't know. My parents gave it to, this is what they named me. So, with me interacting with people because of my name and for it to be a conversation starter, I have grown to love my name. I have grown to accept my name, and I also work with big time executives in my firm who is running the business in HR with ethnic names. So
and that's very good to hear. I love it.
Yeah, it is definitely an amazing thing. It gives you that self-confidence. And I want to tell everyone, who has, a quote unquote black name. I hate even saying that, because what is a black name? Because with my name, I'm black, but then come to find out, there's girls or women in India with the same name as me. I was also told that my name is a Turkish name as well, but they just spell it a little different. So so what is really a black name? But I just feel like whoever is having any type of doubts, thinking like, oh, maybe my name is too black, I should change it, or should I just use my middle name or whatever? And not to mention, I don't even have my middle name. I just have a first and last name. So there's no changing anything. This is what you get. What you see is what you get. That's it, point blank, period. I want to tell them just to pretty much accept your name. If you put on your resume your full name and you have the right qualifications and your resume is up to par, I don't see why not whoever shouldn't call you. I don't see why not you shouldn't be called in for an interview and she'll feel confident. Who cares what your name is? At the end of the day, what matters is, can you get the job done? Can you do the job? Are you qualified?
Exactly. Thank you so much for that commentary. I thank you so much. And it's refreshing to hear that a bigger organization is following the rules and basically doing what they're supposed to do. And just for anyone listening, we're not going to mention the organization or the caller from HR on the line, just for, there's just a conflict of interest. So we're not going to mention her company or her name. But I do thank you for tuning in, and I do thank you for letting us know that and giving people a sense of hope that, everyone is not like that. Every employer is not that way. Just be yourself, because eventually they have to accept you. And personally, I'm the type of person that if I send out 300 resumes and I don't get a call back, guess what? I'm starting my own company because that's just how I do it. I'm starting my own company because if they won't accept me, yes, I'm going to build my own empire, and I'm going to work with people that will accept me for who I am. Or I'm going to find another company that will accept me for who I am, because that's not the end of the road. It's just the beginning. You can't get to success without any hurdles. And if this is just a little hurdle that I got to get over, then so be it. But, Sha'Condria, just please tell anybody where they can find you, your social media information, what you have coming up in your hometown, if you're going to be in any cities. We'd love to know.
All right. Anyone who wants to find me can, of course, Google me, Sha'Condria, SHA''Condria, iCon, like the word icon, Sibley, SIB as in boy, LEY. Facebook, my artist page is facebook.com/icon stands for something, and it's the whole thing written out. Twitter, Instagram, they can find me at the handle iCon the artist, all one word. Coming up, I have a couple of speaking engagements and a couple of national slams. I will be participating in the Individual World Poetry Slam, which is the greatest match of all the greatest individual poets in the world.
Wow.
Wow, whoever wins, that will be ranked number one in the world. I've come across a couple people that have won it, and I've actually beat them, so something gave me the idea.
Oh, wow.
In addition to that, I'll be doing speaking engagements at a couple of universities across the country, one in Indiana and another one in Texas. I'm going to do a little bit of touring. Again, the Little Girls Big Names project is going to be jumping off, and I'll have my website up and loaded within the next month, so people will be able to catch me there. But, yeah, Facebook, social media is the easiest way to contact me. To book me, email iconpoetbooking@gmail.com. That's about the gist of it, I guess.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys for calling in, and I really appreciate the listeners for listening. For anybody who would like to hear this episode or find out more about Brutally Uncut, please visit my site, brutallyuncut.com, or visit my personal site, TameekaHenry.com, and that's TameEka, last name Henry, HENRY.com. And on that site, my Brutally Uncut site, you'll be able to go to the Speak section where you'll be able to suggest the next episode, as well as give your feedback on anything that you've heard. If you have any questions, if you would like to book me for any panels, or you would like to speak to any of the guests that I've ever had on the show, please feel free to contact me, and we'll get you in contact with those people. And I'm just going to leave you guys off with a little note and just saying, be yourself, love who you are, especially in these times where racial tensions are so high. It's important to be proud of who you are and what you stand for and what you're about. We don't want to grow up in a generation where everybody is the same, everybody has the same names. When we have differences and cultural differences, whether it be names, whether it be religion, whether it be likes, taste, or gender, or if you choose to be transgender, if you choose to be gay, straight, whatever the case may be, it makes the world just a little bit more interesting. Now we have things to talk about. If we were all the same, it would just be a boring world. So be who you are. I want to know who you are if you're different. Thank you for tuning in, and that was Brutally Uncut. You're now tuned in to Brutally Uncut with me, your host, Tameeka Henry.